Great. We are live. Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday. I am Gina from Advantage College Planning, and I am joined this evening by my colleague, Lindsay. We're really excited to chat with you all about application deadlines and figuring out which one is going to be the best pick for your student as they're getting ready to navigate this process. So we'll give everyone a chance to kind of come in and get settled, and then we're going to jump right in. So this is prime application work time. Lindsay actually was just hopping on here from a webinar that we were doing for our junior clients. So she's just all over tonight. Chatting with families. So thanks for being here, Lindsay. This is awesome. So given that, all of our seniors are really working on those applications and trying to get things finalized and figuring out which deadlines they're going to be targeting. And then we thought, well, junior families and sophomore families, you all might start to have questions about all these different deadlines as well, so that you can plan ahead and figure out what will be the best fit for your student. So we're going to go ahead and chat about those application deadlines tonight. So welcome. So again, if you are just joining us, I am Gina from Advantage College Planning, and I am joined by my colleague, Lindsay. So meet Lindsay ringing back. So
hi, everybody.
Lindsay is one of our college consultants. She's also our director of college counseling, and she has years of experience in this arena. So Lindsay has worked in higher education as an admissions counselor. She's also worked on the high school side as a college counselor in a high school. And now, of course, she's with us as an independent consultant. So she has so much knowledge about this topic of choosing deadlines and really helping students make those choices. So I'm excited to chat with her tonight. So if you're just joining us, I would love to know a little bit more about who's here with us tonight. So when you get all settled in, go ahead and put in either the year that your student is, or if we have any students, you can tell us that you're actually the student watching this tonight. And then just let us know where you're tuning in from. We are located in North Carolina in the Research Triangle area, but we work with students and families all over the country. So it's always nice to know where everyone's coming from. And then as we are chatting throughout our live tonight, there will be an opportunity at the end for some Q&A. So after you let us know, oh, yay, all right. So we've got someone here with a freshman and a junior. Oh, perfect timing. This will be good for you. You can also put your comments in the chat as well and any questions. And then at the end, we'll make sure to get to those if there was anything that you were wondering that we didn't get a chance to talk about. But let's go ahead and jump right in. So Lindsay, could you start off by telling us a little bit about what the different application deadline options are?
Yeah, thank you, Gina. Thanks for hosting me tonight. There are a lot of different college deadlines. The most common college deadlines include kind of three major deadlines: an early decision deadline, an early action deadline, and a regular deadline. Those three deadlines are the prominent deadlines that we see in college admissions. We also see, to some extent, what we call rolling deadlines and rolling admissions. And so that's another option that students can choose as well.
Awesome. Great. And so with the early decision, like early deadlines, can you tell us a little bit more about that? I mean, it sounds like, okay, if I can apply early, maybe that's the best plan. So is that the best plan for everyone?
It depends. Early decision, if a student is applying early decision, that means that they are committing to attend that college. The early decision option is not available at every institution. And in fact, I would say probably only a quarter of colleges across the country offer early decision even as an option. But essentially what that option does is it gives students the opportunity to indicate that that is their first choice of college and that they would attend if they are admitted. That means they would turn down every other opportunity. They would say no to a scholarship from another school. They would say no for an admissions offer from another institution. So they are clearly saying, if you admit me, I am going. So this is a great choice for students who have clearly identified their number one school. They know without a doubt that they would attend this institution. Oftentimes, when a college offers an early decision option, it is a little bit easier to get in. There is a slight advantage in the admissions process. The college knows that the student is attending, and so the college has motivation to admit more students to their early decision option because that secures some of their class. So of course, there is going to be an advantage to that. But for most students, they can't make that decision. It's really hard for a high school senior to say, I will attend this institution and forsake all others. I don't even think they can say that about anything, right? So I think it's a difficult choice. And I think it's a family choice because there is a financial component to that. The student is essentially accepting that offer without being able to compare financial aid offers from multiple schools. And so that's why we don't see this option across the board. Early decision is not beneficial for everyone. And so it's really making sure that the family knows what they're doing and making that right choice.
That's great advice, making it a family decision about what's going to be right for our family. We just had a question from a parent of a senior, so super timely. And they were wondering, what if my student does apply early decision and is admitted? And then after they're admitted, we find out this is not a financial fit for my family. Are
Yeah.
they then required to go and the family just has to figure it out? Kind of what happens there?
Right. Well, fortunately, there's no such thing as early decision jail, right? You won't be hauled off to college admissions jail. However, I think that it is appropriate for families to do their due diligence and understand the financial implications. There are things on college websites called net price calculators that can help a family understand the financial risk that they're making in agreeing to the early decision opportunity. I would say that's a great time to call the financial aid office. All colleges have a financial aid office with counselors on staff who are ready to talk with families about their options, their budget. I have seen in small cases, it's unusual, but in small cases where the financial agreement just didn't work out, like the family's financial situation changed, their budget did change. And so in that case, it is appropriate that the family was able to pull out of that commitment. I would say it's unusual. And so now is the time to have those conversations with the financial aid office. So if you and your student are really seriously considering applying early decision, call the school, call the financial aid office and have a conversation about what is to be expected in that financial aid package.
That's great advice. Yeah, the more you know early, the easier the conversations will be later for
Yeah.
sure. And so, in addition to early decision, there's also some earlier options like early action. Sometimes those rolling decisions can also be a little earlier. Can you talk a little bit about that and, which students should really be targeting those earlier options for applications?
Yeah. So with all other early deadlines, then they are called a lot of different things, right? We see like an early action deadline is probably the one that's most common. I think that most students are ready to apply early action if they feel really comfortable with their essays, they feel like they have their best academic performance behind them,
Mhm.
and they are ready with the application process. Targeting those early deadlines is great. And I think from the college admissions perspective, what we see is that colleges are also encouraging students to apply earlier rather than later. In particular, if there is like a rolling opportunity, we would want students to apply earlier so that the class doesn't fill. And so we do encourage students to target those earlier deadlines. The students that shouldn't target those deadlines, though, are those students who want more time with the application process and who are not quite feeling successful in the classroom and they feel like their best performance in the classroom, and by performance I'm meaning grades, are really happening now, fall semester of senior year. And why not show off those fall semester grades by waiting in the process? Ah, yes.
Like, okay,
So,
I think it's time to
yeah.
switch. Yeah. So yeah, waiting for regular decision. We get this question a lot, is there a benefit to me waiting? So that's exactly it. If you're doing your best work right now, if you're making your comeback right now, maybe from a little bit of a bumpy end of junior year, waiting for regular decision can be a good plan.
Exactly. Yep,
Yeah.
exactly it. Yeah, there's no guarantee if a student applies early that the college will see their first semester or first quarter grades. And so if a student is really killing it right now, then they may want to hold off and they may say, I'm going to go ahead and wait and apply for the regular deadline. Perfect. That's a great option.
Yeah. I found that regular decision deadlines are a great option too for a student who maybe gets in a bunch of applications early and then has a little bit of downtime to think about, okay, well, maybe there's this
Yeah.
other school that I really did like, but I didn't get a chance to visit it because of COVID and then I went to visit and now I've realized I really like it. You have a little bit more time to add that school to the list.
That's a great
So
point.
that's really
Yep.
nice
I
too.
love that. Yeah, that's a great point.
So, and we do have some good questions coming in, mostly about early decisions. So I think we'll get to those in just a little bit. But I did want to think about and have you talk to us a little bit about other deadlines. So we've got early decision, early action, regular admissions, rolling admissions. But what else? Those are the admission specific deadlines.
Mhm.
But are there any other certain times that we really need to make sure that students and families have on their mind and on their calendars?
Yeah, absolutely. There are scholarship deadlines to be aware of. And in some cases, there may be an admissions deadline that is tied to a scholarship deadline. So a college may indicate, apply by December 1st to be considered for all of our merit-based scholarships. Our deadline is not until January 15th, but if you want to be considered fully for scholarships, then you should apply by December 1st, for example. So there are also different deadlines for honors programs. In some cases, a student may submit the application for admission and then need to follow up with an application for the honors program that may be due at a later date. And so, yeah, paying attention to those deadlines is really important. The best thing that a student can be doing right now is reading their email, which I know for some students feels archaic. That feels like, what is an email, right? They never check their email. And I feel for them because I was working with a student the other day and she had her email open. The amount of email that a college is sending to students is crazy. This student received 50 emails in the hour that we were working together from a wide variety of colleges. So I get it. I know how difficult that email management can be, but it's a great skill for students to really embrace and making sure that they're not missing emails from the colleges on their list because those emails are vitally important. That's the way that a college is going to be communicating with students. And there's really no way for a student to be like, oh, I didn't know, I didn't receive a text message. Well, you got an email from us
Right.
4 times. So
Right.
it's really important for the students to make sure that they are checking that email. I totally feel for them, but they really need to be in the practice of that.
Yeah, that's a good kind of sneaky tip. Check your email. I was in a meeting with a student yesterday and we were submitting some applications. Yay. And I said, you know what, check to see if they've sent you any emails about application fee waivers because some schools have been doing that. And same thing, she put the school's name in her email inbox and a long list of emails came up from that school, but there was one in there that said if you apply by this date and you put this code in the Common App, it'll save your application fee. And that saved her a lot of money. These application fees can add up. So check the emails. Great. So the biggest questions that we have, and it's great, we have a nice mix of years here. Actually, we have a family here of a junior who works with you, Lindsay. Yay.
Yeah,
Yeah, we've got some juniors and some seniors and some freshmen getting started early, but lots of questions about early decisions. So, and the main question really does come around back to that initial question of backing out. So, can early decision be made contingent upon getting a specific financial aid package? What are the ramifications on the family if they back out of the early decision agreement after the student has been admitted?
Yeah, I would say for the majority of students, well, and let me just preface this by if the college that the student is applying to offers them admission, they want that student to be on their campus. They want that student to be a part of their community, and they are going to do what they can to make sure that that works for that family.
Right.
I really do think that colleges are looking out for their students. So I think going into this process, knowing that the college, if they offer that admissions, if they accept your student, then they want them on that campus. So I think it's just really important for the family to work closely with the financial aid office. I think having a conversation with someone in financial aid and really laying out the details of the family's finances can really be helpful to understand, yeah, we are going to make this work, or this is an approximation of what you should expect to receive from us. You need to do your homework as a family, use that net price calculator, have an understanding of what that's going to be like. have a conversation with your family as a family about your overall budget, thinking about grad school and other criteria like that. But then I think, when everything is out there on the table, if it seems like this could work, then early decision can be a great option. And I think that's a really good choice for students. There, there really aren't any hard and fast implications for a family who does pull out of the ED agreement. Typically, there are still colleges accepting applications at that time. I've had students, where at one or two, because again, this isn't common. If the student is offered admission from the school they got into ED, typically this is going to work out and everything is going to be fine. But in the one or two cases where the financial circumstances just did not work out, the student was able to apply to another school and they still had time to do that. So again, I think it's unusual that a family would have to pull out, but I think making sure you've done your homework is the biggest key for that.
Yeah, that's a great thing to keep coming back to, is just, this is a family conversation that needs to happen early. And then again, that's where those regular decision deadlines can come in, right? So if that you did get admitted ED, yay, and then it doesn't work out, there are still those regular decision deadlines in January, February for schools that could be a great fit, and financially it could be a good fit for the family too.
And I get it. Like, it's a hard choice because of that advantage, that they are getting in the admissions process. So it's putting the family in a tough situation because you want the leg up when it's the first choice. And it's like, this is my dream school. I want to get every advantage I possibly can. So it makes sense to choose that early decision option. Just make sure you're doing your homework. Just call the financial aid office. Just make sure that you're making those right decisions.
Awesome. Great advice. Thank you. I knew this would be super interesting and helpful. Awesome. Great. So any other questions? We would love to answer any questions that you have about these application decisions. We know, or application deadlines. We know that seniors, you are in the thick of it right now and trying to figure things out. We do have some early deadlines coming up in just a couple of weeks. So keep going. I have a sign in my office that says, it's a quote, and it says, "It always seems impossible until it's done."
Well, it's done.
And I think that is like the perfect mantra for this time of year for the seniors as they are working through these essays and applications. But you've got this. Awesome. Great. Well, if this has been helpful for you and you'd like to learn more, you can head on over to advcp.com, and we have a blog, a podcast, more videos and webinars like these, lots of opportunities to learn more. You can also schedule a consultation with us if you're not already one of our clients. And I will be back on October 6th at noon. So it's a Thursday at noon, lunchtime. And I will be joined by by Arbor Bridge, which is a test prep company. And we will be chatting with Morris. You're going to love him. He's great. He is their director of tutoring. Yes. And so he is going to be chatting with us about test prep, and then also specifically the new SAT. So for students who are sophomores and freshmen, those students will be taking the new version of the SAT. So it will be good for you to join and learn about that. Great. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, everyone. I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you all back here on the 6th. Thanks so much. Thanks, Lindsay.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.